Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you. Glad that the rain didn't keep you away. So today, we ask that you silence your cell phones, and then I will try to remember to tell you to turn them back on afterwards. We are going to have Joe introduce any first-time visitors in person to Resident Council.
Hello, hello, hello. And your name is?
Jean Brookins.
Jean Brookins, correct. And your name is?
Ken.
Ken Brookins. And you, I guess, live in the Meadows?
Yes, and 3018 West.
You're in West. Okay, so how long have you been here?
Almost a month.
Yay, good, good, good. And where did you come from?
Independence, Missouri.
Independence, Missouri. So they lived in the area and you made your way to the West and the Meadows. Yay. Good to have you. Hope you come more. Thank you. You're here. Yeah, that's wonderful. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you, Joe. And as I was telling a couple other people in the back, keep coming back and bring your friends with you. Now we will have a few words from Dan Rexroth, our CEO.
Thank you, Janet. And I just want to congratulate you on two things. One thing, I'm looking out on the most loyal, the most dedicated, the most committed resident council members to brave the rain and the sleet and the snow. No, okay, just the rain. And so coming out to resident council meeting. The second thing is lots of you are wearing red. So, all right, get that spirit, chief spirit. Is there anyone here who's not going to be watching the football game tonight? Oh my goodness. Look at, well, there's 4 people. All right, 4 people.
And the red is by accident.
Did you know the Chiefs were playing tonight? Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to end that conversation right there. It looks like about 95% of people are going to be watching the game, and isn't it a fun year and fun when your team's winning? So that's great. Hey, I just wanted to tell you, you can have pride in the village for lots of reasons, but the last few days I've been thinking a lot about one good reason we can have pride, and that is that the week before last, we had visitors from a large retirement community system. They're about the 10th largest system in the United States, continuing care retirement communities, or what we call life plan communities now. And they have a number of locations all over the country. Is that rain? Oh, wow. Okay. Let me know if you need me to pull your car up for you afterwards. But yeah, so the week before last, we had the CEO and the board chair for the 10th largest retirement community system in the country had contacted me. They wanted to come out, and they wanted to see all of the innovative things that John Knox Village is doing right now. And so I spent a half a day with them, and there were a lot of wows, and I'm impressed. And wow, you're doing that. We don't know other people that are doing that. That's a new thing. All those kinds of comments. So that was really nice. And then I just a few days ago got contact from another large retirement community system that is also has a number of locations across the country. And we just worked out a date when they're going to come out, their chief operating officer. And he said, I want to see all of the great things. He said, I've been hearing about what's going on at John Knox Village and want to see it for myself. And he said, I've had a couple of people tell me you need to go out and see some of what's going on out at John Knox Village. And then about a month ago, I was asked to speak at a national conference of retirement community executives. There were probably 500 people in attendance from all over the country. And they asked me to specifically speak on selling to the middle market, building for the middle market. And so I gave a presentation at that session, and afterwards we had a line of people who are interested in finding out more about how you can build for that middle market customer, there are a lot of people now who are kind of in that category. They've got some assets. They've got a home that they've owned. They've got some maybe retirement, and they've got some other savings, but they're not in what I would call the elite upper class. And so how do you build and market and sell for that middle market? So that was a great thing. So 3 things just in the last couple of weeks here that I thought, wow, the village can really be proud of all that's going on, and certainly great things are happening. And if all you know is John Knox Village, you're not really aware of that. So you can be proud of what's going on here. Thanks. Yeah, Carolyn.
Dan, have you heard from any of your Life Plan community friends about Hurricane Helene in Milton? Did everybody survive?
Oh, yeah, so she was asking about if I'd heard anything about Hurricane Helene. Is that, yeah, Hurricane Helene. And yes, we have had some communities that have been impacted, that have been hit. I know that some that have had to seek shelter, and I don't know any that were hit hard in terms of being destroyed or significantly damaged, but certainly some residents were evacuated of some communities. Some residents had to seek shelter in storm shelter areas. So there were certainly, if you're in the path, you were impacted. So it is. I guess we have tornadoes here, but we haven't had anything significant happen at John Knox Village. So we're very thankful for the blessings that we have. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And I'm sorry, but I forgot to tell you who I am for those watching this as well as those here. I am Janet Crowell, President of Resident Council, and I don't know if it was due to my memory loss or humility that I forgot to tell you who I am. So we can all resonate with that. Maria is going to give her update before the panel. So we will go on to Gail Bonet, President of John Knox Village Foundation.
Thanks, Janet. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad we all got in here before the rain. Well, I guess it was raining, but really started coming down. This is kind of a quiet time, sort of, for the foundation with the gala behind us and so forth. We're still, focusing on a lot of the smaller projects and larger projects that we have going on, but nothing big like an event like we had in September. So I was thinking about what I was going to say today, and with this being November, the month of Thanksgiving, I just wanted to express my gratitude to all of you for everything that you have done to make life better here at the village for us this year. We've had so many wonderful gifts over the year. We had the gala, as I mentioned. We've the dog park, which is nearing completion. The Veterans Memorial, which the veterans were responsible for, which is absolutely magnificent. I stood in line to vote on Saturday, and a woman I was visiting with is a nurse with the VA, and so of course I had to show her pictures of the memorial and tell her all about how it came to be, and she was going to be sending some of her veterans out here to see it, so it's pretty incredible. And then there have been gifts for fitness equipment, there have been gifts for grounds, for benches, for trees, and the list goes on and on and on. And I am just extremely grateful to all of you who made those things possible. I do want to remind you that as we're getting toward the end of the year, some of you are needing to have a required minimum distribution from your retirement account. And if that is something that you need to do and that you do not need all of that money to live on, that you can reduce your tax consequences by instructing your broker that a portion of that required minimum distribution can be directed to a charity of your choice, including the John Knox Village Foundation. It's advantageous to you if you go through your broker and give them our information rather than getting the money yourself and then trying to write a check or something like that. There are different tax consequences. So if you have any questions about that, ask your financial advisor or give me a call. But as we get towards the end of the year, that is something that people often choose to do. It helps reduce their tax liability, and of course, it's a great thing for the foundation and for the village. The ambassadors will be at the Care Center again this year on December 6th for the holiday store, so be watching for Mark Salvatore to put something out in The Voice or The Voice Today about what kinds of things they need. But that is the opportunity for residents who live at the VCC to shop, quote unquote, there's no cost, for themselves or for their loved ones for the holidays. It's always something that the ambassadors and I really enjoy doing, so be looking for more information on that. And I think that's it. Again, thank you so much for everything you do for us. It truly is greatly appreciated, and obviously we couldn't do it without you. So thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Steve, what is that weird noise that, okay, you don't know either, okay. Well, it's not a cell phone, I can assure you of that. All right, we were going to hear from our 5 chairs, and Lita is going to give the report for sales and marketing as well as finance. Greg Coulter, chair of sales and marketing, is unavailable, so she's going to give his report as well. And so instead of calling you up here twice, Lita, feel free to do it while you're up here.
My name is Lita Blevins, for those of you who don't know, and I am chairman of the Finance Committee, and I am the VP of the cell, so that's why I'm doing the other report. The Finance Committee met on October 30th in the Missouri room, and we went over the month that ended September 30th. The second quarter of the year 25 reflected an operating margin of 8.6, which is favorable to budget. The total year-to-date revenue is up 3.9% over last year, while expenses are up only 2.3%. Year-to-date operation margin of 9.7 is favorable to budget and above last year, which was 7.9. Salaries and wages are favorable to budget, but reflect a 3.7% increase over last year. EMS financial performance for September was 23.9%, better than the year-to-date margin of 21.1% and greater than last year's 20.1%. Home health and hospice begin to show some traction with their business plan in August. The hospice September financial results are slightly better than August results. Home health is still trying to adjust to the marketing issues. The business unit supporting continuum care of senior living, assistant living, and the care center combined operation contribution of $916,000 greater than last year. Daily cash on hand increased 41 days in September, arriving at 239 days greater than compared to 198 days that was budgeted. The staff has reviewed the completed audit resulted for the year 24, and Kim Clockengay will discuss this at the quarterly financial presentation that he's doing on November 21st in the Manhattan room. There are some items on the Missouri budget, as some of you do know, and some of you have asked, that involve wages and taxes, and they might have a minor impact on the village but nothing major. The next meeting of the Finance Committee will be in the Missouri Room on November 27th at 1 p.m. Okay, sales and marketing. This is always an interesting meeting. Jerry Parker, manager of sales, explained the process employed by the sales consultants from the initial contact through residency. There are 5 sales consultants. They have a collective list of leads, and they are responsible for 500 to 700 of them. Initial screening seeks to discern how soon leads are interested in moving, whether independent living or assisted living is best suited to their needs. Level of financial support. So we show them inventory best suited for their ability to maintain. The average age of new residents is 78 to 82 years old. Younger leads are showing earlier interest in being on the priority wait list, knowing there may be a wait for new residents. And a comment to that, the stuff that we have up and in the process of building, they're all spoken for. Jerry and the panel described several strategies which are helping boost the leads. Walking and driving tours of the campus, regular follow-up events for people on the waiting list, housewarming events. Marketing update. We had 225 plus leads from the actual event. Our goal was 12:30. The goal was 10:05, and we exceeded that by 225. The deposits, we had one extra deposit. Our goal was 83, and we made 84. Move-ins, our goal was 61, and actual 58. We were down 3. Entry fee revenues, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm not used to reading this. The actual year to date is 38% of the goal. We have over the actual impending, we've met already 92% of the physical 25 goals. Courtyard E, we have 40 deposits of the 52 units. Villa Phase 10, 7 under construction, 7 under contract. Villa 11, 5 units planned, 5 units are under contract. The next meeting is Thursday, November 21st at 9:30 in the Manhattan Room. Come join us, because it is interesting.
Hi, I'm Frank Colburn, Chairman of the Health Services Committee. The committee met on, I take off my glasses to read. The committee met on October the 9th in the Administrative Boardroom. We have 2 new members, Diane Demarest and Lita Blevins. Our program was a comprehensive update by Anthony Colombato, the Vice President of Health and Community Services. First thing he announced was that the VCC has regained their 5-star rating from Medicare and Medicaid services. It's a big accomplishment. This is based on on-site comprehensive inspections, which include areas such as medications, wounds, and falls. Our current capacity at the care center is 121 beds, and we are still limiting admissions to JKV residents. Outpatient therapy is in the process of moving to the south end of the VCC building. as you've heard, with an estimate of early spring move-in. The emphasis there continues in advancing our Parkinson's program, but we are expanding expertise with trained therapists to provide lymphedema and vestibular therapy. Home health and hospice under Michael Stoker, the new head, is expanding with the goal of extending our market service area with new and revised marketing. These services are open to all local communities, including Kansas. Home health is cross-training nurses to better handle the abundance of referrals with the goal of reducing the time of first contact. Hospice has room for more referrals and is adding programs in aroma, music, and art. Our next meeting will be November 13th in the boardroom, and that program will be a review of the resident survey and also some ideas for use of more new technology.
My name is Kitty Ham, and I'm chairman of the nominating committee. We met on October the 15th in the Westminster Room at the Meadows, and we welcomed two new committee members, Sue Rusko and Donna Willigman. We had the resignation of one member due to prior commitments. At our meeting on the October the 15th, we had received one resume for the position of Vice President of Resident Council. The deadline for the resumes to be received by the nominating committee for Resident Council President and Vice President was November the 1st. So resumes that were received will be reviewed by the committee at our next meeting on November the 19th. After that, the Resident Council Secretary will provide an article for the Village Voice, which will announce the candidates with resumes for the position of President and Vice President of Resident Council. Also at that time, the Secretary will publish qualifications for a John Knox Village resident who would like to submit a resume for the upcoming vacant position on the John Knox Village Board of Directors. So our next meeting will be November the 19th in the Westminster Room at the Meadows. Thank you.
I am Martha Wood, Chair of Resident Services Committee. And we met on October 14th. Maria Timberlake, Vice President of Senior Living, presented the results of the resident engagement section of the Halloran Survey. Resident engagement measures how well a senior living organization supports successful aging of its residents. Extensive research shows organizations support successful, Extensive research shows that resident engagement hinges on 4 areas. The first is voice, engagement with the community. This represents the degree to which residents can live independently and have a say in their environment. This includes addressing issues, keeping residents informed, transparency, and providing ways to be heard. John Knox Village scored 4.3, 4, I don't remember, on a scale of 5. Second area was connection, engagement with others. This represents providing a welcome environment, encouraging social interaction, a sense of belonging, and being as active as you want. Providing strong social network support is an essential component of successful aging. John Knox Village scored 4.49 out of 5. The third engagement was life goals. This includes feeling challenged, stimulated, able to pursue meeting, maintain life from before, and living the life you want. A successful senior living community provides ways to meaningfully contribute, maintain a sense of purpose in life, and feel a sense of continuity with life prior to moving. John Knox Village scored 4.26 out of 5. The fourth area is engagement with health and wellness, and this will be presented later as a standalone presentation. These 4 areas are associated with minimizing disease and mortality, reducing risks and accidents, slowing cognitive and physical impairment, and increasing life satisfaction. Not every resident seeks to be involved in the same way. Providing ways that will reach and serve every resident on a campus as large as this is an ongoing undertaking. These scores indicate that the John Knox Village administration is very mindful of the importance of supporting these engagements. Our next meeting will be November 11th. Please give me a call if you'd like to visit.
We thank all of the chairs and the committee members for their hard work. Once again, it just shows us how much we as residents have an opportunity to be involved as much as we like or as little. So, speaking of the pride that Dan mentioned, our program today is, I think, something that John Knox can be very proud of, and that is a associate panel called the Associate Care Committee, and they are here, some of them, and they are going to share what they do for us as residents. And Maria is going to give updates while they're getting set up.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so tomorrow is a big day, and Brian Apoka asked me to remind you all that we have a special bus running to get you to the pavilion to exercise your vote. So did you all see the announcement about that? You know, if you need to catch the bus, how to do that? Okay. If not, you can see Jestik after the meeting. I do have the schedule, but I don't think I need to go over that. I have to say that I anticipate that you all will have less of a wait than some of us have had. Mine was 45 minutes on the first day of pre-voting, no big deal. Gail had a friend who waited 5.5 hours to vote. But since ours is a dedicated precinct, it's just you guys, so hopefully that'll go smoothly. But not telling you what to do other than that I do encourage you to exercise your right to vote, because that's an important thing. Also, I wanted to remind those of you who are dog owners who have not submitted your pet application to the village. If you want access to the dog park, we really need to be getting that from you. We are waiting. We did have a little bit of a hitch on the automatic door openers. that will take residents from the vestibule into either the large or small dog park area. So we are waiting for those to come in, and we can get those installed, as well as the bricks, the engraved bricks that go around the patio. But it's sure looking good, and this rain is certainly going to help that sod take hold. So we will announce that as soon as possible to get that open. And finally, one last update. I was talking to one of the area managers today, and I was on vacation last week, and so she was updating me on some of the goings-on with some of the residents that we had talked about prior to my vacation, just checking in on the status of them. And in one case, a resident had a medical emergency, and we wanted to contact their emergency contact that's on the paperwork. You get that paperwork every year. Y'all know what I'm talking about, and we tell you to look it over and let us know if there's any updates. This particular resident had named his son as his emergency contact, and his son had passed away in 2021. And we were less able to help that resident in a timely manner because we had to scramble to try to figure out who to call and how to get in touch with another family member. So I know sometimes we all get things in the mail and we think, oh, yeah, I need to do that. And then it goes in a stack somewhere in our house, and then months later we dig it out. So please let us know if you have a change in something that is important to you and our ability to serve you if your status changes, whether that's a pet caretaker or somebody to contact if something happens to you. We want to be able to support you and your family as best we can, and without that information being current, we are less able to do that in as timely a manner. So that was just this morning. I wanted to throw out that reminder. And finally, I want to thank Bill Dahlquist for his continued patronage of the ice cream parlor, because every month I come in here, you've got an ice cream cone. So thank you, Bill, for doing that. So it always makes me think, I need to eat more ice cream. So you guys want to come on up? And Anthony's going to be handing out a handout today. And I actually want to thank Martha Wood, because a couple of months ago, when we were looking at what to do as a program for the Resident Services Committee, I threw out the idea of doing an overview of the Resident Care Committee. And it ended up, I think, being a really, really good meeting. And I was a little surprised that we had a lot of people who really weren't aware of what the Resident Care Committee is. And so then the idea came to present that here, and I thought that sounded great because it is a very active, well-intended group of folks with a lot of expertise who come together on a regular basis to help you when you're in need of support. And so I'm going to introduce, this is just a sampling of the committee. And we will loosely follow the handout. It's just a couple pages, but I think where we might provide more value to you all is by having some casual dialogue. We didn't have some very strict presentation when we did it at the committee level, and it went really well because we were able to just have some discussion. So to my left here is Teddy Crawford. In case you don't know Teddy, she is one of the 3 area managers, so you all may be more familiar with Lisa Smith here in the Courtyard and Sun Valley area, or Melissa Side over in the Meadows and Country Club. Next to Teddy is Justic Singleton. Justic is our manager of public safety, so he is over security, transportation, and dispatch. Reports up to Brian Apoka. And then on the far end is Melanie McGraw, and I think most of you probably know Melanie. She's around all over the place. She is a social worker and then also is our care coordination liaison. And as you'll see as we go through the presentation and you look at your handout, we have a lot of different disciplines represented at the CARE Committee, but we felt like having 3 people seemed to be the right amount for a panel presentation. So I think we'll start with Teddy, who is the longest standing member of those 3, to talk a little bit about the role of the committee. And then Justic and Melanie can talk about their role, and then we can, talk about some different scenarios and how the team comes together to individualize a network of support and resources for residents when they have a need.
Thank you, Maria. Can you hear me okay? Can't tell if it's on. Is it on now? Okay. So I'm Teddy Crawford, and I'm one of the 3 area managers, as Maria said. The area managers are just one of the associate positions that represent the Resident Care Committee. It's a multidisciplinary team. We get together weekly, and each of us brings a different aspect to that meeting. Since COVID, we've been doing a virtual meeting where we're all at our desks because we all come from all over campus. And what we find is that each person has a different part of the village that they pay attention to. And the folks that come in contact with us may bring us all kinds of information that can be helpful for the committee to determine if we have some services or some areas that we can help share with the resident or their family to address any concerns that are going on for them or any concerns that the village may have that we might like to make sure that the resident or their family know, hey, there are these kinds of things that might help in this situation. The role of the committee really is to be very, we want to respect everybody's privacy. Residents' privacy and dignity is something that I think everyone on that committee and every associate at the village, we take that to heart. It isn't just a HIPAA rule or, some kind of legal thing that we need to pay attention to. It also is part of the DNA of who we are and how we do the things that we do at the village. It's kind of an unsung committee. Most residents don't really know about it. It's not something that a lot of people talk about, and that's probably because of the nature of the committee. The history of it, gosh, for those of you that don't know, I am now celebrating my 40th anniversary at John Knox Village. I know. I'm starting to picture myself on that side of the table, sitting in this very room at some stage here, not too long future. But the committee started, I think, with the chaplains and the social workers at the Village Care Center, and maybe one of the directors of nursing, figuring out that the campus is large. There's a lot of people out there, and how do we reach them? How do we make sure that we're helping them when they're starting to go through a crisis, or even just having questions about, what are the services that are available? And it's kind of grown from there. But it has always taken people from all over campus who work one-on-one with the residents and brought them together to be able to talk about the concerns and the issues and the solutions. Bottom line being on the solutions and the support services that are available to help in that. And that is not it is not ever anything to be punitive or, to talk about people. It is expressly there to help come up with solutions and options for residents. I think the goal being independence and dignity and being able to live the life that the resident chooses to live. And what do we have that can help support that? Justic, do you want to talk a little bit about your department and your role and some of the things that might come up?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Justic Singleton. I'm the Public Safety Manager. So I'll participate in these weekly meetings for security mainly. Our security lead, Ryan Courtney, if I'm not there, he'll be participating, but usually we'll try and both be in there. As you may know, our security is EMT staffed, so anytime we go out on a call, medical evaluation and investigation, they'll report back, they'll fill out their reports, and then in these weekly meetings, we'll go over some of the updates of what's been going on, and we'll coordinate between each other on what security can do to help a situation that may be escalating, whether it means just having someone more on site, someone who can respond, investigate more, and then give feedback to an area manager, or give their medical opinion on what condition they're in, if something comes to escalating into assisted living, something like that. And then I just try and coordinate and help out and continue to communicate between area managers and security on what's going on.
Melanie?
Hello, everybody. It's good to see you all. Go Chiefs. I've met many of you. I appreciate seeing you all again, but my role is the care coordination liaison, AKA social worker. My role is to be helpful and supportive for all of our residents. I have participated in the committee ever since I started here, but in a different capacity one time or another. You know, during these weekly meetings, we do go over a lot of concerns or issues that might have arose with some of our residents. You know, my role is to help kind of get involved, if appropriate, to help our residents that are struggling with some challenges. So as we go over our lists and the folks we talk about, I try to keep a keen ear open to how can I be an impact in a positive way to help our residents that are challenged right now, be it health challenges, family challenges, which we all have, concerns with, you know, maybe financial things going on, or lack of support systems, which are very important to have. So I just kind of try to get involved as appropriate at that time to help our folks, with the goal, of course, you know, helping you manage your living independently, successfully, right? So that's kind of my role.
So if you look at one of the handouts here, we have a list of the different areas of the village that are represented on the committee. And I think that is illustrative of the scope of expertise we have to support residents, as well as the benefit that you all get living here of having these disciplines come together to try to weave the best web of support that we can for you. Whereas if you were out in the community, you might just talk to your doctor's office or the discharge planner at a hospital. And here we have all these different people coming together to say, what can we do collectively? And sometimes it falls more in one arena than another. But it is a lot of people coming together, and also it's people transition between the levels of care, right? So Teddy maybe knows some in the independent living, and then you know, they transition to assisted living, or maybe they need home health, and then they go to the care center. That people are on the same page, kind of tracking what's going on with that resident. If you turn like to the next page, some of the different scenarios. You know, we've had a fair number of people that, you know, they have something going on, as Melanie said, with their family. So it could be that one of their adult children is struggling with cancer, or an adult child has died. We've had a number of situations where an adult child was maybe going through a difficult time personally and decided to be at mom's doorstep. But mom really can't take that on at that time, and how do we help that resident? There's been, gosh, also, we have residents who violate policies, either out of an unwillingness to comply or an inability to comply, and so those are some of the situations that we deal with. I don't know if you guys want to share any generic. We don't want to use it. We don't want to out anybody, but.
You know, as an area manager, part of the role that we serve is education for our residents. We may get a call from a resident who is having some surgery in the hospital, knows that they're going to have a rehab stay, and just wants to know, does my entry fee agreement cover any of these benefits? You know, is there anything at the village? So it could be a simple kind of factual question. Or it could be a daughter of a resident. Maybe that resident went to the hospital, has had a stroke, and is going to need some longer term care. And the question is, gosh, we don't know if mom's going to be able to maintain independent living when we get through this? What do we do? So those kinds of things are the things we would help support you or your family. And if that did indeed become the case, we would reach out to our friends and associates in the resident care committee to say, hey, heads up, this situation is going on. This resident is currently at St. Luke's East. Can someone from the care center reach out, the admittance at the care center, or it might be just getting the social workers at the care center a heads up on what we know, some background and some helpful information that can help them guide the family through that, through that process. Policy violations, the enforcement of those kinds of things, that can be caused, as Maria kind of alluded to, it may not be a lack of knowledge of the policy. It may be let's say it's a pet policy issue and someone isn't cleaning up after their pet. Well, the story may be that the resident has forgotten that they're supposed to clean up after the pet, or their own physical capabilities are starting to change and alter, and that isn't as easy. So we may need to reach out to that resident or her support people and say, hey, there's village helpers that can come and help walk this dog, or maybe some people coming in once or twice a day can help with these sort of issues. That we work together collaboratively to come up with solutions. We're not a team that's sitting around figuring out, oh, this person's got a violation, there's a little black mark on the name. That's, it's not that kind of a thing at all. It definitely is a supportive, caring, committed group of associates. The housekeeping staff often send us concerns and thoughts, whether that's one of the building housekeepers dropping by an area manager's office or sharing something that they're witnessing, that is concerning to them. They may share that with their manager, and they may share it. We may hear from the dining room staff that a resident who has typically come every day for breakfast is now showing up later, or gosh, they came in the other day and it was 6 o'clock in the evening and they thought it was time for breakfast, or things like that. We can identify those kinds of issues through this committee and reach out and try to help with those kinds of things that are going on.
Or we may hear from you on a concern with a neighbor who's been struggling, and, just to help connect them with more support.
Absolutely.
We rely on, your input as well.
Being great neighbors and supportive people is really important, and you guys are experts at that, and we appreciate it. Having said that, we might also talk about, it can be a little frustrating as a concerned neighbor when you bring a problem to a staff member about another resident. We most likely aren't going to be able to share a lot back.
Right.
And I know that can feel like nothing's being done. Please be reassured that there are people like the three of us and all of those names you saw on the positions anyway, that you saw on there, that are working together in our best effort to try to help. We would keep quiet anything that you chose to discuss with us, just as we're going to honor that resident's dignity and privacy as well. That is, like I said, it's, we are covered by HIPAA, and there are laws and regulations that cover us, but there's also doing the right thing and caring for your dignity, caring for your safety, caring for your security. That is the role of this committee and all of its members. And it goes to even people who aren't part of that committee, but all of the folks who give us the information to discuss at that weekly meeting. We're all doing it with respect for all of you. That's what we come to work for. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
There are a lot of sticky situations too, where maybe different members of the family see the situation differently. There are different levels of financial resources or local support. So you could take a resident with the same situation, and it can play out very differently. Do they have local support or do they not? Do they have financial resources or do they not? Is the family agreeing or accepting? Because a lot of times families are in denial of what's going on with mom or dad and dismiss it. Probably because they haven't gone through that before, not because they're trying to be difficult. One thing I was going to mention is that we have risk management on the committee. And that's really important because sometimes we are dealing with regulatory issues, legal issues. we want to avoid legal issues, obviously, or regulatory violations. And so Ravi, I think some of you have met him. He's our Director of Risk Management, is there. And I think one of the things he learned when he joined the committee was that we don't just fix things, we manage through things, because life is complicated and there's not necessarily an easy solution. We work towards solutions that make situations better, but we don't just magically fix things.
And I, for one, with Ravi, have really appreciated him being in those meetings with us, because he can help identify some of those at-risk areas that we may just be looking at the resident concern and the resident safety, and may not be looking at the broader brush. And, you know, protecting the village and those legal things is an important part of what we do. So, Lena, you've had your hand up. Did you have a question?
Sorry, Lita. Here. I've just been waiting for this opportunity.
You were talking about us giving you a name of another resident. Okay, so we do that and you don't know anything about it or nothing. What's your procedure after that? Do you just have someone keep an eye on them, or what?
Melanie might want to jump in here too. It probably depends on the issue, and it depends on the concern. Obviously, there are going to be things that are of extreme safety. 9 times out of 10, it's more something that we probably are aware of, whether we share that with you or not. It almost always is a deeper concern than what the problem is. My neighbor isn't picking up the dog poop, and the dog poop is all around my patio. Maybe there's really an issue that we're dealing with. This resident is at a stage where either we need to bring in services to take care of the pet, or the pet needs to go. Or maybe the resident is ready to be making a transition to another level of care, whether that be bringing staff to them, or, you know, assisted living, or whatever. There could be levels of financial concern that we have to find the best match for that particular situation. Maybe it's a situation where, oh my gosh, my best friend Mary is not herself, and I need somebody to get over there and check on her right away. You know, that's going to be handled much differently than another problem. All times, I will tell you that it's not just sitting on somebody's in basket waiting till we get a free minute. Resident concerns are probably the top priority for the 3 area managers over anything else that we do, especially when they come down to health and safety and ability to remain independent and supported. Melanie, do you want to answer that a little bit too?
No, I would agree with all of that. I mean, you bring a concern, and like Teddy said, there could be a lot going on after addressing or talking with the resident or finding out more information. It goes to a deeper level of just, they're not picking up Teddy's example, the dog.
Teddy has been dealing with some pet
The dog
policy
food.
violations lately, can you tell?
I'm thinking of other examples, but either way, all the examples, all things we deal with, usually it's a little bit more layered. We start identifying things that could really support the person that didn't have that support, or whatever's going on medically, cognitively. I mean, as we all know, those things change, and all of us at any time, things could be going on. So we appreciate you being neighborly.
And on some of the, we have sometimes where all the signals are telling us somebody needs to go to the hospital, but they don't want to. And so sometimes we'll send like Jestik or Ryan or Brian Apoka over in uniform with a degree of authority to try to tell them that they have to go to the hospital. And we try to leverage the right resource. Sometimes we do need to send a man. It's just, that's more appropriate for that situation, or that particular resident will respond better. Or we want to, send the straight talking Melanie, or the heart to heart with Teddy, or whatever the case may be. We really look at how can we best connect with that resident, meet them where they're coming from, and be the most effective at getting through to move the situation forward.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, many times I'll go with Jestik or Brian, or we'll go as kind of a team, or they'll call us in, just depending upon the situation.
I was going to say too, as a resident concerned about a neighbor or a friend, you have lots of places to turn to. if you have a general concern that is an observation, that is, something like what we were talking about earlier, not obviously life-threatening, don't ever hesitate to reach out to the area manager. You can also reach Melanie. But if you are concerned, oh my gosh, I can't find my neighbor. We had plans and she's not answering, or she's not answering her phone or the door, you can always call on Jestic's folks. Call that public safety line. The dispatcher will get somebody to go. They do resident checks all the time. And I can tell you, there are times in my tenured time here that we have gone to check on a resident only to be told, oh my gosh, I've been avoiding Mary all this time, I don't want to go to lunch. And they will call a little upset that we called on them, and I have had to apologize and say, look, I am really sorry and I respect that. But I would much rather you be mad at me for knocking on your door or sending someone to check on you and everything's okay, than for there to have been a problem and I didn't send somebody or I didn't check. So, we've had to manage those too. And then you work through the resident expectations and that sort of thing. But the bottom line is you have a lot of associates. As I said earlier, we come to work every day. That's what we're here for. We're here to support you and to help. And that's why you're here. And it's certainly why we're here. So don't hesitate to reach out when you have a concern for yourself or your friends. Anybody else?
Absolutely. So our security, EMS, and dispatch, they're 24/7, 365 service. There's always someone here to pick up that phone, respond. Any safety concerns, will be there for you.
And they are.
And when it's 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, I'm already in my jammies and on my second glass of wine, and Brian Apoka's name shows up on my phone, I always know, like, oh no. And then I have to call Teddy or Melissa or Lisa. But the point being, this is a 24/7 thing, and stuff doesn't always happen Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And when those kind of situations happen, an unexpected death, a fire, a flood,
Yeah. Somebody's lost dog one time. It was that the dog was missing and we found the dog.
So, I mean, there's
But
all
it's-
sorts of situations, and I don't want to cut off the discussion because it's good and healthy, but I do want to point out the very last page on your handout talks about confidentiality, because we do believe that is so very critically important, and Teddy said it really well. If it's you going through a transition, a hard family situation, or a decline in your ability to live independently, you don't want us talking to your friends and neighbors about that. You want us to respect your confidentiality. So I know it's really hard when residents truly care that they want to know about one another, but we do respect that. I also want to, I'll get you just one sec. I do want one scenario that we haven't touched on. We have had a few cases of residents bullying other residents, and that's where we've had, Melanie, the area manager, involved. We've even had to report things to the state. So Melanie, maybe in a minute you could talk about what that process looks like, where we've actually asked in the last 18 months, Teddy, would that be right? Two residents we haven't asked them to leave the village. We've told them they needed to leave the village because they were bullying other residents. So we deal with such a wide range of very human situations, right? And some, are maybe very step by step. Somebody says, I'm not able to live as independently anymore. I think I need to move to a higher level of care. Let's work through that process. Great. More often than not, it's a little stickier than that. So many different, every time, the area managers and I talk every Tuesday morning for at least an hour. And we spend a lot of our time talking about putting our collective wisdom together to try to figure out some of these situations. And every time we think we've heard everything, you all come up with something new to challenge us in our skill set and our diplomacy of trying to figure out how to get through it. So you had to, are we running tight on time? Yeah.
Hearing all of this, I hope that we as residents realize we have a go-to rather than just talking among ourselves, and it ended up with no resolution. So I am really appreciative, as well as I'm sure everyone else, that we have such a wonderful team working for us.
Appreciate that.
And I want to add to that, that I agree that we are so fortunate. I learned a couple of things that I didn't realize, so I'm really glad we did this. I knew, my background, so I knew a risk manager was on the team, and that makes me feel good. And I would just say that, I a lot will interact with my area manager. I think probably the most difficult thing to deal with as a resident are the cognitive declines of your neighbor. And in dealing with Melissa, I know I went in one time, I was pretty aware, though it hadn't been said so, that it had made its way to the care committee. And about a month later, in an interaction, I thought, wow, this is worse than usual. And so I went in and I said to Melissa, I know you can't tell me what's going on, but I wanted you to know today there seemed to be a much worsening of what we had been dealing with. And she said, thanks for letting me know, because I can't tell you, and I knew that because I'm a retired risk manager, but I think that these are the hardest, and you guys get all kinds of stuff, but this has got to be the hardest, especially when the resident doesn't want to and the family's in denial. So would you explain how sometimes that process can take a long time and we won't know what you're doing?
Yeah, well, that's a tough one. And there's no straight answer
Right.
to that question. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to adapt and work with the resident and families. I think educating the person or the family members, kind of what's going on, and the resident. And there's some tools that we can use. For instance, having an evaluation done at our outpatient speech therapy. They do memory screens. All right, let's kind of go see how, where you're at, how you're doing. And let's get some real numbers or real feedback, because, and it could be a number of things going on. It could just be an infection that's unaddressed. We run across that a lot.
We do.
A lot. A lot. So go to your doctor if you're not feeling right, get checked out. Go to the clinic right up the street or right on the campus.
Corona.
Corona. I mean, so many things can play factor into the confusion, maybe not just being dementia. So just looking at the whole person and helping them connect with some medical resources and evaluations, I think, is the beginning.
And I would say, back to your point, sometimes those firsthand, instead of the group gossip that everybody talked about at dinner one night when that resident didn't show up, but the firsthand observation of this person that you have spent a lot of one-on-one time with can be the piece of the puzzle that really gets the attention of that family member. That helps us explain this isn't just somebody making something bigger out of a deal, or that this is an example of why we're concerned. Justix folks do that. They don't write up a report on every single call that they make, but they may have a fall where the resident is transported to the hospital, and during that they tell Justix or Ryan, oh hey, we've been there 4 times in the last month and they were similar kinds of calls. So you're starting to see, oh gosh, it isn't that there is anything wrong with somebody falling and calling for help. That's what the pull chains are for. That's what security is there for. But it might be an important difference for us to know, yeah, that wasn't just one fall. And maybe if we got some outpatient therapy going on, we can help strengthen that resident. Or, maybe there's some other issues there that can be addressed. And that's where we can pull in the resources. So I think there's a hesitancy sometimes to feel like you're tattling on someone. We would never take it that way, especially when it's a legitimate concern that you share. We're going to do our best to rule out somebody just coming because they don't like that person, saying, this is really great. We're going to get to the bottom of those issues as well. At the end of the day, we have the requirements of tenancy. That is really the guideline. Here are the requirements to live an independent living. are you able to meet those, with or without support services? So, we're going to use that as the tool to say, we're at that stage. We have to figure out an answer to this concern. So let's work together, let's figure it out and go from there. And that may take some time. That may not be the magic wand. Sometimes there's something so concerning and so that, yes, we're going to, it's hospitalization or, life is at stake. Then we call in the big guns and get their help and do what we need to do.
Security will respond and evaluate, and will utilize EMS to assist with us.
Judy?
One thing you need to stress is if I report something on Janet that I have a concern, you will never divulge that I'm the one that brought it forward.
And
We know that you're not going to talk about the people you're taking care of, but all of us collectively need to know that when we have brought a concern, that's the end of you don't tell us, but you don't tell the family or whatever that Judy reported on Janet. Maria, would you repeat that?
Yeah, so Judy is pointing out that the confidentiality goes both ways. So that if resident A goes to Teddy and says, I have a concern about resident B, that we don't tell resident B that resident A was the one who shared that. Now, they may be able to figure it out if it's a very specific thing, but no, the confidentiality goes both ways. And I'm kind of thinking about taking this full circle back to what I said about making sure your resident information sheet is up to date because of that scenario I shared with you. You all moved here because of the array of services and programs that we have. You could be living in an apartment or a duplex or a condo or your own house. You came here for a rich abundance of services. So I would implore you, just like I want you to keep your sheet up to date with your emergency contacts, is make sure that your emergency contacts know that there are people like this who care about you and who want to help you. If you could even just give them your area manager's business card for
Right.
them to have.
I do that a lot when residents come to see me here. Give
And,
this to
and
your-
if they
yeah.
just contact the area manager will send out their feelers and get the right people involved, and then maybe back out of it if they don't need to be involved. But just so that they know that, if they get a call that you're at the hospital, that they're not left hanging, I mean, we will track people down, but if they understand that we have this kind of program here, it would be helpful because we want to help them too. We want to help the family through it.
Absolutely.
While on the topic of confidentiality, it can be difficult as security EMS personnel to respect one's privacy in such a public setting. So I'd like to point out what factors contribute to that. When we have sirens and flashing lights, you might wake up some neighbors and they might look out their window. And so immediately when we get to a scene, we'll do a med-eval. However that may go, transportation to the hospital. Your security personnel on scene will ask you, would you like your emergency contact to be notified? And we'll respect that decision based on whatever you may provide. There's some changes that may happen when it comes to level of a consciousness or alertness, but for the most part, if you're alert and oriented, we'll respect your privacy and go about it that way. However, when it's a public setting and you may have a neighbor kind of come on over, you may invite them into the scene, we can no longer provide that level of privacy, so just take note of that. And also, when it comes to dealing with these requests, we've had issues before where a patient may have told us that they didn't want their family members contacted, but then the neighbor contacted their family member. So please respect the patient's wishes and privacy.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point.
I've spoken to a number of adult children who have been really mad at us because we didn't notify them. But again, if the person's unconscious, that's a different scenario. But if you say, oh no, I just took a little tumble, I just want to be checked out, don't call my daughter, we're not going to call your daughter, but she's going to find out, and then she's going to be mad at you and be mad at us. So think about that.
The medical terminology behind that, if someone's unconscious or altered, is implied consent, right? So someone can't make decisions for themselves based on blood alcohol content, whatever it may be. We'll utilize implied consent to contact those emergency contacts, but when it comes to someone who's fully alert and oriented, we'll respect their privacy based on their wishes.
We've kind of covered a lot of ground. We could probably keep on talking. Yes, Martha?
I want to say that about privacy. About the privacy, I have heard over the years I've been here someone say, well, I told Teddy, whoever, about so-and-so, and they didn't do anything. You made a point when you presented this to Resident Services a couple months ago that this is not a committee that just talks about things. You try and find the very best solution.
We do.
We appreciate it.
And I think as people, we also need to understand that people, whether they are John Knox Village residents or anywhere else, have the right to make poor decisions for themselves. So, we here at the village ultimately go back to that requirement of tenancy. That's the negotiator that we have. It can be very frustrating for you as friends and neighbors. It can be very frustrating for us to know, oh gosh, 3 little services would completely change this scenario and make it so much better. But someone may choose different.
That's why I'm happy that you are speaking to resident council.
Thank you, Martha.
Yeah, we never want to be overly paternalistic or patronizing, right? So, yeah,
That's
people of all ages can make bad decisions. And as long as the health and wellness and safety of others isn't impacted, we can tolerate that. If it crosses the line and infringes on other residents, then it's a whole nother ballgame. But, well, we could probably keep on talking, but we appreciate everybody, the interest, and thanks you guys for coming out and doing it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. That was very informative, and if you want to hear more, watch it on Channel 2. Our next meeting will not be till January 6th, so enjoy the Christmas holidays. January 6th.
Wow.
And our program will be new resolutions, volunteering. See y'all then.